Y'all already know. Welcome back. This is Frederick the Mayor. I come with different layers, and I never forget to say my prayers, and I hope you don't neither. Check out the background. This is how we doing it. You know what I'm saying? Got my shelf and all that, my good books and all that. It's this side. Yeah, my bad. But now, on all seriousness, this is what I like to talk about because I'm in the process. I've made a little short film. Y'all go check it out on FMTV_life. But I'm trying to build my short films and get larger spaces to create them. And just for a little bit of context, I stumbled onto this video on All the Smoke. Y'all go check out All the Smoke podcast with Steven Jackson and yeah, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. And basically, all I want to say is that I always dreamed of making movies. I always dreamed of like being in film. That's why I started this whole like film journey. Just wanted to be a person who wrote down his ideas, put it to paper, and made it come to life on screen. I still got big plans for that. Like I said, I already shot one short film, but just to know all of the education behind it, because I definitely want to shoot a major big box office film. You gotta work your way up to that. I'm gonna let y'all get some insight from one of the game's brightest stars, that's Ben Affleck, and they got him on All the Smoke. So check it out.
You now, like, it's very, very difficult to make a movie for less than $25 million,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And 25, and it can go up very quickly as soon as you got a big stunt unit or big action stuff or visual effects. And here's the thing with theatrical, which is why it's very hard. Like, you spend about the same amount that you spend on the movie to advertise the movie. So if you spend 25 million to make the movie, you 25 million to advertise the movie. So now you got $50 million into the movie, and from the movie theaters, you get back roughly 50%. So if a movie makes $100 million, you get back $50 million.
That's just
So if you
like
get back
even.
$50 million, that's you $25 million movie got to gross 100 million just in
Break
simple
even.
math. And there is a tail and there are secondary revenue streams, but that's one of the things that has made it really hard to get theatrical. That and the fact that people now go, this movie looks good, but I'll see it when it comes on streaming. And so those two factors are really what's caused, why you see mostly the movies that come out in theaters are, Avengers and or Avatar or whatever it is, and a movie, even a movie with that Ryan Coogler, who's a huge commercial director, and Michael B. Jordan, who's a huge movie star. That's considered kind of a risk because it's not like a sequel,
Right.
and even that comes out and blows up and it's a big hit. Now, now they'll make Sinners 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but to do something original,
Right.
that's really,
Yeah,
where
huge
those
risk.
guys had to go out and really kind of use all their credibility and
Making movies is not a simple feat. It's not a simple task. But what I got from this, he's saying like when something is not a sequel, right? People haven't already engaged in it into theaters. That might seem like a risk because you have to get the people interested in that said topic on what that movie is about. Because a lot of times people in this generation really don't like to try things that's new. Everything is microwaved and it happens fast, and you gotta do what you gotta do and get what you gotta get, right? So you got to remember that there's gonna be a lot of people that don't do enough homework and just jump into things and then be disappointed. I try to be the opposite. I try to make sure I do my research, make sure I go follow some stories, some success stories, and then even better, follow some non-successful stories. Follow some stories of people who fail, figure out how they failed, and so you could do some things to probably combat that and make it happen for yourself, man. But I'm gonna get back into Ben Affleck's talking because it's some real education. This is what I want to do with my life. So y'all can hate all you want. I don't care. I want to make film. I want to shoot pictures. What? I probably suck.
cachet to convince people to do that movie.
Well, similar to like you did on Centers, he kind of like did like an artist equity type of thing with how he structured his deal and how
Ryan's a really, seems like a very, very smart guy, and he did a really smart thing with that deal, which is that he kind of related to this idea of kind of ownership, like talking about the Air and the Jordan deal earlier. Like, you're going to get the movie and you're going to release the movie, but like, they're going to be participants in it, and they got what's called a reversion, so that Ryan and I assume, the other principal creators, the movie reverts back to his ownership.
Perfect.
Because there's a lot of value in a movie. The movies that are really successful, they have a lot of value in what's called like the tails. Like That's why people will still they'll still license a movie for 10, $20 million to Netflix or Prime or Max. That's been out a long time ago because people will still watch it if it's like a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
So now Ryan will be able to
Do
not
that.
just get a piece of it now, but in 10 years when they're going to license Sinners again, that's all going
Yeah.
back to him.
He-
And he bet on himself, right?
Yep.
And it really now accrues the value of
Smart.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very very sharp, very innovative. It was very controversial. A lot of people were on the studio side were mad at Warner
Yeah.
Brothers because it was like, oh, you're giving away this value. But that's an example of like using that leverage. It's like, okay, you figure this guy's so good and he's got this cast and this script so good. He's like, this is what I want. Change the business essentially.
Wow, wow, wow. So basically, what I'm getting from this is Ryan Coogler is the Steph Curry of filmmaking. Because you got Ben Affleck up here saying basically that he changed the game of filmmaking because he's actually getting equity in his films and actually getting what he called the reversion, where the film revert back to his ownership in a certain amount of years. Wow. Shouts out to Ryan Coogler. And by the way, he is my favorite filmmaker. I've been inspired. I still have to finish a couple of movies of his, like Fruitville Station and stuff, but the new stuff, the latest stuff, I'm on that, man. And I'm not gonna hold you, just I might gotta watch that. I might gotta watch Sinners again right after this, just because it's so great, it's so epic. It's something every creator should go see for real, for real.
A lot of people in Hollywood and really just overall are a little bit afraid of AI. What are your thought? What's your thoughts with AI?
I think there's like two ways to think about it. Like, I can understand why people are afraid just in general of AI, right? Like, there's this whole thing of so half of it's like, it's going to be super intelligent and it's going to be Skynet and a Terminator and take over the world. And like, well, that makes people afraid, right? Like, which is a little bit like, well, let's then maybe just not put AI in charge of shit to start with. You know what I mean? I would say that's probably a wise choice. I think in terms of like what it can do as a tool, I actually think that what I would like to see happen is that it be kind of owned and integrated into what filmmakers are doing. It's never going to be, and I don't think anyone ever wants to see like this whole Tilly Norwood thing. That's bullshit. Nobody wants to see or cares about something that is false, but and like not real and not a person. Like, I just don't believe in that. I don't believe that's going to work. I don't believe that's a real thing to worry about. I think there are some things about the technology that would make visual effects less expensive, and like those things I think that we should adopt and not sort of let fear mean that the only people that are using that technology are people who are like basically like ripping something off or outside Hollywood or because that doesn't make sense to me.
You don't have a blanket fear of it. You feel like there's parts that could be very beneficial to what you guys
There's
are
definitely parts that can be very beneficial, yeah, and the idea of looking at it in terms of just like all good all
doing.
bad.
Right.
And I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. For small creators, AI is actually very, very useful if you know how to do it. Like if you want like your music videos and stuff like that to come out real epic and stuff like my last music video, I turned the kid into Goku. Like I'm not even lying, I turned the kid into Goku. So AI can really be useful if you know what you're doing with it. And like I said, for smaller creators, like backgrounds like this, what I'm doing, this is AI. You know what I mean? Like, this is not the background I have. This is simple form of AI. It's not like even advanced. It's not even advanced. So it's ways to utilize AI in a good way, but um, for the small time creator, use as much AI as you can. But I would always suggest that you use AI under the understanding of you want to make it look as real as possible. See, the key to AI is sometimes you got these new AI and they're just AIing it up. It looks fake. It is fake. But like if you have a background on a desktop or if you need something added to the scene or you need something taken out real quick, AI is good for that. If you know your AI tools and you know which tools to utilize for the said project. But the only reason I stopped on this story is relevant to our community because I know a lot of young kids that want to come out here and do the filmmaker thing. And everybody don't want to just do music videos. Some of us want to do movies, actual movies, the $25 million movies that Ben Affleck is talking about. Some of us is up for that. And honestly, I got a lot more work to do in my own little independent film business that I have. But I believe that, it's definitely a market for independent filmmakers. Independent films definitely has a market. You know what I'm saying? I may not ever hit that big screen, but you'll get that back end money, you know what I'm saying? But the most important thing is to make the greatest films that you could possibly make, and get them the most thought you could possibly give them, you know what I'm saying? And just create the best creations you could create. And I really enjoying this interview because this is, like I said, this is what I want to do. Being from, like, the hood, this ain't the coolest thing to take on. It's not like really cool to be a filmmaker and be in front of the camera and doing, like I ain't gonna lie, streamers make it cool, but like if you come from my era and you one of them dudes that was really in the streets at one point in time, it's never, I don't think, it's gonna ever get to the point where it's gonna be looked at like, you know what I'm saying, by at least by my peers, at least. It ain't gonna never look like something to do, for real, for real.
Right.
That's like, what
Not
do you think
it.
about electricity?
Right.
You know what I mean? Well,
Right. Well, you can
when
get
it's in a
shocked
nuclear
from it,
bomb, I think
right.
it's bad. When it's on a
Right.
train, I think,
Yeah.
it's really that broad a category. It's going to be about like, how is it used? And there needs to be rules, and there needs to be, and there, frankly, there already are a lot of rules that about like using image and likeness. And I think that it's not a thing to be so terrified of, but it is a thing to kind of step up and define. And I think you could present an opportunity. Like, you have a choice. You make your movie. You want to let people, fool around with your movie and make little AI, shorts of it. Like, if that's what you're good with, and go ahead and do that. And you see the benefit of that, and that could be one of the ways that you profit from that. Talking about Sinners, if those guys wanted to let people make their little Sinners, I fight the vampires too videos,
Right.
great. Like, then, but that money should be going to Ryan and Michael and
Yeah.
Warner Brothers and the people that invested in creating that. That is, I think, the bigger issue, is connecting the compensation appropriately to the people that are actually creating the value. Because the reason why people want to do that shit is because they like the original, IP that it's associated with, that somebody went out and made and built. And to me, that makes sense. But I don't think it's ever even gonna be practical, or anybody really gives a shit of just an all AI, sort of animated movie.
Coming soon, The Rip, January 16th. Got a chance to watch it last night. This is the first partnership between Netflix and Artist Equity, a production company you and Matt launched in 2022. Your company is pretty revolutionary when it comes to the streaming age, but also the structure in which people who work for you are rewarded. Can you break that down?
Yeah, sure. This is the first time. Look, like, we had these strikes a couple of years ago, and this business, we were talking this before we started. Like, things are changing a lot, right? And so there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear. And one of the things is like, hey, costs got to come down, and blah blah blah. And yet, you have this whole streaming universe that's obviously really expanding, has a lot of value. In the old days, you understood what the value was of stuff you did because you see the box office and that kind of thing, and there was a value associated with it. And so during the strikes, one of the things that we were trying to work with the guilds and trying to volunteer was like to create a streaming residual structure, because in the old days, like, if you were on a TV show on network or in a movie, you knew how successful it was as an actor. You get paid a residual, right, according to how how successful it was. And when this model came along, it really changed things. And so what we're trying to do with this is implement the first performance-based compensation structure, where we've worked with Netflix, and we're very grateful and appreciative that they've been really open, engaging in this, and I think they want it to work, so that they can kind of like implement this sense of fairness, where, like, so if you're an actor in this movie, or you worked on it, we've got 1,200 people in the crew. Wow. All of them are part of this bonus structure, and we kind of set up these levels where, like, if in the 90 days the same number of people watch it as watched, and they give us movies that performed at a certain level in the past, movie X, movie Y, movie Z, like their biggest movie, I think, is K-pop Demon Hunters. So if it does that, it's a lottery hit. But there's additional compensation along the way. And the reason why we wanted to do this is both because we're aware of, like, the business is shifting. We want to protect and solidify this. This is a really strong and important, I think, business for this community.
Well, I think Ben Affleck has said a lot here, you know what I'm saying? What I got from him basically is that, movies are very expensive. The landscape of making movies is changing. And it seems like he's ahead of the game because he has a production company and he sees all the schematics. It's even to the point where he's trying to create like a movie streaming part of his company, if I was listening right. And because he sees the landscape of what's going on with streaming, and he's just trying to get actors that are creators um fairly compensated. And I believe that's something fly because I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna make my movies and I'm gonna do my one too. But I just feel like this is relevant to the community, man, because it's a lot of young creators out there that want to do some creating, man. So y'all already know, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know how y'all feel about that. If you're a young creator, man, and you actually want to make real films, real movies with big budgets, you have an idea, you know how to operate cameras, you know how to have a team. So, you just got to take it step by step. I suggest you make as many micro films and small films as possible. I'm actually working on part two of La Jude right now. And, that's all I got for you for today. Um, Besides that, the studio was mad that Ryan Coogler was able to cut that type of deal and able to get that type of value out of his deal, which is kudos to Ryan Coogler. He's the big dog for that. But yeah, y'all let me know in the comments, man. Y'all want to make a movie, man? Reach out to me, man. I got a lot of movie stuff coming up, man. But this is relevant to our community. This is relevant to me. Um, and you already know. Shouts out to y'all. This is Frederick the Mayor. I come with different layers, and I never get to say my prayers, and I hope you don't neither. You already know the vibes. We out.